What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about WB Games doubling down on live service. Not a good move. Not a good move at all. I'm pretty upset about it. This is not surprising, right? Because we had already heard that they were going all in on live service, that many, if not all of their games are going to kind of have these live service elements built in. I've been thinking a little bit about the Wonder Woman game, and I might make a video separate to this one where I talk about it. I swear to God, if you mess up this Wonder Woman game, I'm going to be so mad. So what we have here is them doubling down. This comes from the main man, David, the CEO at the top. Our focus is on transforming our biggest franchises from largely console and PC based with 3 to 4 year release schedules to include more always-on gameplay through live services, multi-platform, and free-to-play extensions with the goal to have more players spending more time on more platforms. Ultimately, we want to drive engagement and monetization of longer cycles and at higher levels. We have put specific capabilities. We are currently under scale and see significant opportunity to generate greater post-purchase revenue. So they need that money. I mean, that's really, look, that's what they're doing. They want more money. They want more money continuously. They don't want to wait 3 to 4 years for single-player games to come out, and they are lost. And so what do? You go with live service. Now, look, this can work to a certain degree, and I have seen some people defending this. I guess here's where I come at it, and I mean, I sound like a broken record, but I don't see how you can argue with some of the things that I've said about live service. There is only so many people that play games, okay? Now, yes, different markets kind of pop off, and there's people that, maybe weren't playing games that now are. There's only so many people, but there's a bigger thing here. There's only so much time in a goddamn day. And I really think people, for whatever reason, don't understand this. There is so many live service games. There is going to be so many more live service games. Not all of them will be good. Some of them probably will be good. But here's the thing. You only have so much time to play games. You look at the top 10 live service games. You look at the top 50 live service games. How are you supposed to play all of them when the whole point of them is you're supposed to play them nonstop? You're supposed to play every single day, all day. You don't have time to jump between 25 of these. Time is literally, in my opinion, I don't know if this is being said by other people. I'm going to say it here, though. Time is the enemy of live service games. And I'm here to say, when it comes to this, how can you have not seen the goddamn writing on the wall? This is actually what surprises me, right? Like Sony, okay, well, Sony is doing it, and you could argue the same thing with Sony. Do you not see the huge, and I guess they do see one of these, right? There's big pros and cons of live service, and they must only look at the pros, right? Because they're going all in, and they're kind of doing it late. If they were doing this 3 years ago, it would make more sense. They're doing it much later. WB Games, again, now, they've already kind of experimented with this, but, have you learned nothing? We just did a retrospective. I just did a 1 year later look back at Gotham Knights, okay? That game actually sold relatively well, and there are some stats to back that up, so maybe that sent the wrong message to them. But did you see the divisiveness in fans for Gotham Knights? There were people that liked it, but there were also a lot of people that hated it or didn't get it, or just a lot of average thoughts about the game. And that's kind of where I came down on. I think it's an average, somewhat average game overall. But did we not learn something from that, right? Why was it average to me? Well, it's because it started as a live service game, which, God, that would not have worked. And then they carved into it to try to remove as many of those elements as possible. Most likely, I'd bet a lot on this, because they saw Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers was the shockwave across the industry that's not how you do it. And any game that was remotely close to that, which I do believe Gotham Knights was, they had to look and they had to say, we got to get rid of as much of the stuff as possible. But here's the thing. The game was built on that foundation. It was supposed to be live service. So did they not see that? Did they not see, and here's something that you really can't argue, right? What about the reception to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Now, yeah, the game's not out yet. Am I excited for it? To a degree, yes. I am going to play it. I am going to get it. I'm going to be covering it. That would be shocking if I didn't cover it, right? There is some excitement from me, but there is very much worry. Like, I cannot hide that. This game, I think, has just as much chance of being good as it has being absolutely terrible and just an absolute failure of not understanding what kind of game to make, right? A mismatch of the studio. Rocksteady just not, having what it takes to make a game like this, because that doesn't make any sense in the first place, right? So I think it's got a 50-50 shot of being that. Do they not see the reception to Suicide Squad? Now, again, like, it's not out yet, but you can see, like, well, it was delayed. It's been delayed multiple times. There is not a lot of confidence from the gaming industry on this game. People are leaving Rocksteady. The founders of Rocksteady are leaving Rocksteady. Is this not, like, apparent to them? And so when you got your CEO over here of WB in general, right, talking about the gaming division, it's not the right move. I'm sorry. I'm going to come across very anti-live service. I've said it before, and I'll throw it in here, like, it can work in instances, and I'm not saying it's going to fail across the board. In fact, I'll tell you exactly where it's going to work. It's Quidditch. Harry Potter Quidditch. Like, that's the game that it's going to work for, because I think the Wizarding world is starving for a game like that. You already know it's a universe or a fan base, let's say, with untapped potential, because they supported Hogwarts Legacy, and that game did, absolutely insane. But also, did they not learn something from that? See, the thing is, it's not just learning from the failures of other live service games. How about the success stories of when you don't do that? How about, like, the Dead Space remake from EA? Like, that's how you do it. How about Jedi Survivor? How about games like Spider-Man that sell? Like, Baldur's Gate, right? Like, why can't we learn from games that just take their time? And, I mean, different situations for all of them, right? But can we not just, like, allow those to happen? Now, you could say, well, Alex, they didn't say they're going to kill, like, all of the... And I agree that, that is true, but there's clearly, like, a path here. And it's not just that I think they're going to be pulling back more on those single-player... Because they will. They already are, right? So you're going to be pulling back on those. But their goal, and they just said it again, and we've already heard this before, it seems like every game they want to have some sort of element. So if you love microtransactions, get ready, because and when I say, like, Wonder Woman, am I scared? They pulled some pretty garbage stuff with Shadow of War, with monetization, right? Now they backtracked, and the story there seemingly was that WB forced it into them, like, the last minute, like the last couple months they were told to do it. They had no choice. But, like, is that the norm? You're going to get that even if you get a single-player game. If Batman Arkham, let's say, and I don't think it's coming back, especially not right now, but if it comes back, could we expect something like a shoehorned microtransaction thing in it? Because he just said it. They want you to play these games over time. They want increased ways of earning money. And even if it's a single-player game, well, you can't make money past the initial purchase on a single-player game. So how's that going to work with them? So, yeah, I don't think they're going to kill it all entirely, single-player stuff, but I'm honestly going to expect/assume that they'll have some pretty stupid stuff in there. You could, like, again, like Hogwarts Legacy. That's the one that really stands out. That really didn't do a lot of stupid stuff. It went with the trend of, like, paying. You could pay the $10 for the deluxe edition to play it 3 days early. So many games are doing that now, right, where you pay a little extra and you could play it early. Not a great practice, and, I mean, it did do that, but besides that, like, there was no predatory microtransactions for Hogwarts Legacy, and that game did unbelievable. Like it's gonna end the year as one of the top maybe 2-3 best-selling games of the year, right? So it's like, why can't you look at that and say, we did a franchise that people were starving for? It wasn't even amazing. Like, as time has gone on, Hogwarts Legacy, in my opinion, it's a good game, but it definitely was for a more, like, normie kind of audience. I think they had to dumb some stuff down and make kind of a well-rounded game, but nothing could really stand out because of that, except for, I'd say, the combat and Hogwarts Castle, right? But, like, that game wasn't even, like, the most outstanding 10 out of 10. Everybody universally adores the thing, and yet, look at what it did. So imagine if you keep going. Imagine when Hogwarts Legacy 2 comes out. Imagine the effort, if they put in and what that can do. It's right there. This is what makes me mad about it, because it can work doing single-player stuff. It can also work, I guess, doing a mix. And that's what I would like to believe something like Sony is trying to do, where it's like, yeah, please keep doing the single player stuff. If you want to try some live service stuff, maybe there's something interesting there. And it's not going to happen every time. That's the thing too. Like, you're going to have some failures. And if WB makes, say, 10 live service games, or they have these games that have microtransactions, long term, is it going to work for all of them? No. But not to be overly pessimistic, even though that's what this video is. Can it work? Yeah, like, I think Harry Potter, like the Quidditch game, I think that is going to work. I actually think that would work rather well. Suicide Squad, I really don't think it's going to work. Gotham Knights, it didn't work. So it's like, well, what's next? Like, you don't even have that many studios. That's the thing, too. Like, is Traveler's Tale, or the one who makes the Lego games, like, what are they doing? Are they going to do something like that? WB Montreal, who just made Gotham Knights, they're working on 2 games. So and we know one of them is supposed to just be like a single-player game. Is that going to have microtransactions? The Wonder Woman game. Now I'm getting scared. That game was kind of birthed into this mentality. They started years ago, yeah, but, like, we've heard over the past few years that they want to do this stuff. And so, like, in its creation phase, they've been preaching about live service stuff. So is that going to find its way into... Because, again, I can't stress this enough. I swear to you, if you mess that up, and by messing it up, I mean not necessarily like if it's an 8 out of 10 versus a 9 out of 10, but if you inject this kind of stuff, if you basically do Shadow of War again, because that was a mistake with the microtransactions, or if it's hollowed out like Gotham Knights, where you could tell they were going for it and then they pulled back. And I mean, yes, we can keep going around in circles, but... like, Gotham Knights also really confuses me, because it's like right there I thought they kind of learned. I thought they kind of learned with Gotham Knights that, they were going for it and they pulled back. And so instead they're just going to keep going for it. Suicide Squad, they're still going for it. They never pulled back, and that doesn't look like it's going to work. And maybe it does, but to me it probably is not going to work. So, like, after Suicide Squad comes out, you add Gotham Knights. I guess sales are different, though, than, like, general, but eventually sales will dry up. You could say, and I would agree, like, Gotham Knights sold well. It did. It sold well. But if you make a Gotham Knights 2, is it going to sell as well? Like, you will hurt things. Say Suicide Squad comes out, right? And it sells well, but then, like, universally, say, like, the player numbers drop off a cliff, right, after the first month. Like, yeah, it was successful, I guess, but then you're not really going to make money from it long term. If you ever made another game like it, say 3-4 years later, would people support it the same way? Probably not, right? Like, eventually they will speak with their wallet, people, versus just complaining about it online. Sometimes it's a mix. Sometimes one comes before the other. But I don't know. I just don't see how this is the right move. And it just upsets me, because it's like the writing's kind of on the wall. Other studios have tried this and failed. Other studios have gone all in and failed. It's just like, you can have live service. One last time. You can have live service. I think there's something there, and I understand wanting part of that money. You see the best live service games in terms of, like, the money it rakes in, and you say, I want my company to have at least one game that's like that. That's why I understand Sony doing it. But to have it be like half of your model, which Sony, 50-50 is what they're going for in the next couple of years. WB, it's like every game, right? So it's like, that's what you want? You want to just go all in on it when you could have like 1 or 2, but you want all your games to have these kind of paying elements long term? That's not going to work, and it won't. It will not work. It will fail, just like it always does, and then they will suffer, and I mean, they've already suffered massively with profit, which also scares me, because it's like they're going to have to sell. Eventually, like, here's what's going to happen. They're going to do this stuff. It's largely not going to work. They're going to lose even more money, but they're not a company that's like all that financially stable in the first place. So they might have to say, instead of bouncing back and saying, okay, we understand we made mistakes, like EA did. EA said, okay, we made a lot of mistakes. We should have done the single-player stuff, so let's do that with Dragon Age, Mass Effect, etc. Well, EA had money because they still had the FIFAs and the Maddens and stuff, right? Warner Bros. And WB Games really doesn't, so they might not be able to rebound and say, well, 4 or 5 years we'll fix this with single-player games. No, they might have to sell Rocksteady off to, Microsoft, as long has been, it's been reported for a long time. Maybe you sell something to Sony, you sell something to Tencent, whatever you do. I think that's the future of WB, and I don't like that. I really don't like that, but that's what I feel. All opinion-based, by the way. These are all my thoughts. You don't have to agree, but let me know in the comments if you do. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.